do have our first remote guest while we're in the New York office, and that is Max Weinbach, analyst at Creative Strategies, and one of the most insightful people. You've been on a tweet storm, Max, talking about Apple earnings and Microsoft earnings and stuff like that. So that is our first topic. So, Max, first off, welcome to the show. We're going to determine which one's evil, Max.
Are we
It's
really
not
going to look
me.
that up now?
Yeah.
No.
See, Max Weinbach spoke up first, so sorry.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I will play Evil Max today. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, that's dangerous. So
$2 for every comment today.
Yes.
For that.
Max Weinbach, we do welcome your comments. We're streaming on X, we're streaming on Substack, we're streaming on Instagram and YouTube. So whatever platform you're on, we are going to take your comments, but also talk about these Apple earnings. They just had their best ever quarter for iPhone sales. So the iPhone 17 Pro Max has been a big winner. A lot of customer satisfaction out there for this phone. The iPhone Air, you know, I think it generates some excitement, even though it's not the top seller. But the Max, what's your analysis of what's happening with the iPhone? Why is there this sudden spike and this sudden interest in the new phone? You talked about the color being more dynamic, where usually iPhone Pros are kind of a little bit boring. What's your read on the situation?
I think historically, not even historically, since the iPhone roughly 11, everything's looked more or less the same. You can maybe a couple angles change, a couple colors, materials, whatever, but it largely felt like the same phone. And iPhones last a long time. You could use a 5-year-old iPhone and it'll work. So in order to get people to upgrade, it needs to do something that's important and look new, feel new. Otherwise, it just feels like you're doing the same thing year over year. So you need to get over that like hump of it's a pain to switch, so it needs to be really worth it. And I think this was the first iPhone in a long time that we had that. On the base iPhone, it was just the best value. You were finally getting the 120 hertz display, great features. It's a really good iPhone. On the Pros, you finally get a new design and fixes a couple of the issues they've had historically, like overheating since they went to the stainless steel frame. You couldn't use your phone outside since probably the iPhone 12 in the sun during the summer without it overheating and becoming unbearably low down to an unusable point. That's fixed now. And the design also emphasizes the two things people care about most in their phone: battery with the glass cutout right where the battery would be, and a giant camera plateau. You're emphasizing the two things people care about while offering the flashy, eye catching colors and fixing actual problems. Of course, it's going to sell well.
Yeah, the battery life is the number one requested feature out there, followed by camera. And they seem to differentiate themselves this year with that camera plateau. Like you mentioned, the glass cutout for the battery, and also using that extra space for not having a physical SIM card for extra battery life, which they made that point several times. So we kind of benefit from that finally, where it's not just having eSIM for no reason. It's that space is going towards something, which is important.
Yeah. It was between
what do you
12 and
expect from here
4% battery.
There's obviously those rumors of the iPhone Fold. What's going to kind of create another super cycle for Tim Cook and company if Tim Cook is there for a protracted period of time, or this is his final year? What are your thoughts on the upcoming releases that are happening from here until September?
From here till September, I think it's mostly going to be their usual iterative upgrades, probably new iPad, probably iPhone 17e, probably M5 Pro and Max MacBook Pro. We do have the rumors of that low-cost MacBook coming, which could be huge. That's somewhere apparently between $599, $699, powered by an A18 Pro iPhone chip, which would be just an amazing value.
Right. I've been tracking those rumors myself, and I'm super excited for this low-cost MacBook. I think it might be like a huge boost for Apple's MacBook sales, because if it seems Mac sales are consistent with the last quarter, or are they up?
Year over year, they were down a little bit. Quarterly is hard to tell because their main volume driver is the MacBook Air, and they haven't released a new MacBook Air yet. So when that comes, likely in the next couple months, I think Bloomberg is saying it should be uh, within Q1, so by the end of March. That will likely give a boost as well as the low-cost MacBook, and I think that's a good thing. As memory prices become expensive, if you're looking at a Windows computer with 8 gigs of memory or a MacBook with 8 gigs of memory and the longevity you're gonna get out of it, most people expect laptops to last 5 to 7 years. I think it would be, crazy to want the Windows laptop assuming it'll last as long. The Mac is just an obvious longevity king, value king, and it will be even with an iPhone chip in it.
100%.
That MacBook M1 lasted me so many
Yeah.
years, and I mean, a lot of I think Kevin or you're on the MacBook M1,
I'm on the M1 Pro, 14
M1
inch
Pro,
MacBook Pro. It released almost 5 years ago. It is still exceptionally fast, and
I'm
it
still on
handles
it.
everything I need.
I'm still on M2
Amazing.
also, so I don't
Yeah?
really have a new one either. Yeah.
right?
An
I'm the only one with
A18
M4.
could match roughly M1 performance, just much cheaper, smaller. It's great. And apparently they're doing cool colors too. They're gonna have a full suite that match kind of like the iPads, the lower end iPads.
Saw that.
Amazing.
That laptop's gonna be really interesting, I think,
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
It's
Like,
gonna-
we may be, like, switching over to those at some point just to see if we can
Yes,
do the show
please.
out of them.
Yeah, I really want a MacBook with 5G in it. At first, I was like, "What's the point?" Because it connects to the iPhone very quickly through the hotspot integration. But even stuff like they just released the Apple tracker, the AirTag Generation 2 this week. When I close my MacBook, it is awful at finding my MacBook, or sometimes it will be in my bag and it's like, you did not bring your MacBook with you. And then I have a freak out moment and I look in my bag and it's there,
Yeah.
right? I'm hoping something like that could be more trackable and, be a remedy for those false alerts.
You want something like the N1 chip in that. N1 is they switched away from Broadcom to go to in-house chips. N1 does Bluetooth Wi-Fi thread. You want something like that in the and C2 is likely for maybe the M6 generation. M6 is apparently end of this year. They're swapping over a tandem OLED panel, redesigned body to be a little bit thinner and lighter. That I think will be a really, really compelling MacBook Pro.
Yeah, I will upgrade on day one for that. Just like
100%.
Yeah.
it's that watershed moment of the MacBook finally looks different and acts different, with new functionality that I can
No,
really get behind.
I-
What about software and services? That's like the big sector that is going to offset some of not losses, but the shrinking margin on iPhone. They're doing really well with like certain Apple TV shows, and just getting my monthly Apple One subscription for the entire family. Where do you see, is it that going to be their main mode of growth? Because like we see that every earnings quarter, it's the biggest bump year over year for them.
I mean, yeah, if you look at hardware sales, in the categories they sell in today, they more or less lead. In PC, they don't because Mac is, I think about 10, 11% market share. But if you split it onto categories, over 1,000, over 1,500, they're 60 to 80% of that market. In premium smartphones, they're almost 100%. And, they're not 100, they're like 80%. If you look at the top 10 best-selling phones, 7 of the 10 are premium iPhones. It's one premium Samsung phone, then they're low. Apple's worst selling generally sells better than Samsung's best-selling Android phone.
Wow. All right.
That's crazy. 8%.
Before we move
So-
on to Microsoft stock, I'm kind of interested in what your take is on Apple Intelligence and where that goes from here, because obviously they've struggled. No one has, said they haven't struggled. Even Apple kind of admits it. So with their AI plan, where Microsoft has partnered heavily with OpenAI, Apple is going with Gemini, and that seems to be the leading AI model maker out there. What are your thoughts on what Apple's going to do? Are they going to do that long term? Is that partnership just a temporary thing in your mind?
I think it gives them. I think you can compare this kind of like Qualcomm modems in the iPhones. They started with the iPhone 12 for 5G, and they spent that time developing 5G modems to finally swap over to this year. It was not meant to be a long-term solution, but it works and was leading up until they could have their own solution for it. I think we see the same thing with Gemini. They'll use Gemini 3, 4, 5 years, try to develop their own, slowly switch some features over to Apple in-house models. I think Tim Cook said that they weren't swapping over entirely, and they will still be developing during the earnings call yesterday. And I don't expect that to change. So some features, maybe Workout Buddy on the Apple Watch will use an Apple model, but if you talk to Siri, you're going to use the Gemini model. So it's going to be very feature dependent and use the best engine model for the feature that works best for that feature. And at some point, 5, 6 years from now, they'll probably swap over to their own entirely. And I don't think this is a bad thing either, because if you look at the R&D costs, OpenAI spending what 20 billion annually to do this, and Apple's getting this for roughly $1 billion. So
That
if
is a
Apple,
great deal.
it would probably cost them well over the licensing.
It makes sense. It's like their search deal in some ways, and Apple, I think they timed it well in terms of waiting until Gemini was really, really good and leading the market, and then going with picking the best out there. There were rumors that they may buy Perplexity, but instead they are buying or just bought what is it?
QAI.
QAI,
Yeah.
which
QAI.
is an unknown company to a lot of people. I don't know if you had heard of QAI before this news broke, but
I did actually.
did you? All right.
I spoke to them about a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
I can't say much about it, but I know they've publicly said they do silent speech recognition. And if you can
Which is so
imagine what that
fascinating.
means,
Yeah.
that's a really cool technology as you get into AI. Imagine you want to have a voice first communication with something like AirPods in, but you don't have to speak while communicating with that AI.
That's kind of what I want.
Yeah.
I hate talking to Siri. I hate talking to Alexa. I hate talking to Gemini, which is why I just like never use a voice assistant. If I don't have to do that with an AI agent, I feel like it could be life changing for people. Like people will just start
I
to
think
use these tools.
if you want to have a fun little rabbit hole of research, you can go into newer transformer models reading thoughts and being able to translate the intent of speaking into actual text. And I think you're getting something close to that with QAI and how it's going to be used in Apple products in the future. Essentially, read your mind.
Wow.
That's what I want AI to do, is
Okay.
read my mind.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous
And
for all
it's
of us
a
here.
very scary place, but
Right.
like let's just do it.
Right.
There was a comment that Tim Cook made during the earnings call yesterday, referencing innovations that have quote unquote never been seen before. We've been tracking a lot of rumors with brand new Apple products like their smart home gadgets and things of that nature. Is there anything, Max, that you've been seeing that like you're super excited for, like something new from Apple? Like they have that robotic arm thing that's supposed to be coming out at some point. What's something that you've been looking forward to most that you think is going to affect Apple's long-term goals into, becoming an AI powerhouse, becoming a more prominent player in smart homes? What have you been seeing?
I think we finally see Apple piece together all of the technology platforms they've been building out for ages. If you think about AirTags with U1, that allows 10 centimeter precision accuracy anywhere in your home. That means all your home pods know exactly where you are based on your Apple Watch and your iPhone. So as you walk around, you can have music follow you and transfer you around. Motorola did this with their new speakers that launched at CES. But you can then build more context on top of that. Maybe when you're speaking to Siri or use their new HomePad with the display, it will start showing you things as you walk up to it. Or maybe because, again, it knows if your watch is on and where you are in your home based on the devices you have, it will know when to respond to you. If you're using your phone, maybe it actually responds on the HomePod because you don't want to interrupt what you're doing on your phone. Maybe if it knows you don't have your phone but you have your Apple Watch, it's going to send, let's say, an Apple Pay notification to your watch instead. So you're getting this kind of contextual information. You mix that in with health data, and maybe a proactive notification doesn't come to you if you're actively very stressed. So I think we're going to start seeing them combined all of these fundamental core technologies they've had for years in an intelligent way. Now that they finally have Google there, they're finally getting more the new U1 chips and more products and getting more into smart home. It finally feels like what they've been trying to build for years is coming together.
Do you think they'll have a smartphone product in the future? There was a comment recently where someone wanted an Apple doorbell, but not a video doorbell that is just like third party, which there's a number of them out there, and some of them have HomeKit in them, some of them do not. It's very complicated. There seems to be a lot fewer HomeKit compatible smart home accessories compared to something that's compatible with Alexa or Google Home. Do you foresee Apple getting into this market or tiptoeing into it a little bit?
I've been hearing from a lot of who would be competitors in that space that they expect it. I haven't heard anything directly about it from any of usual supply chain contacts, but their competitors are expecting Apple to enter that market, and generally they know, if they're about to be decimated by a beast.
Of course, Apple is known to enter a market and completely wipe somebody out, or
Wait for
you know,
foldables.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The foldable thing is going to be interesting because Samsung has had 7 years of doing foldables, close to 7 years now, and it's been their territory, especially in the U.S. Now, not counting some of the Chinese companies that don't sell in the U.S. A little bit of Motorola in there, but mostly been a Samsung thing, a little bit of Google, but Apple coming in, I'm sure it'll help the category a little bit, but it seems like
Do you want to know some
Apple,
fun numbers? Some
love it.
projections I've heard.
Go for it.
Right now, the entire foldable market annually is about 17 million units. JP Morgan and a few other banks are expecting Apple in the first year to sell roughly 20 million. So their first foldable should outsell the entire industry combined.
I love that.
That's crazy.
Max coming with the hard stats and the forecast for the iPhone Fold. Important question. Do you think it's going to be the iPhone Fold or the iFold or something completely different?
Maybe iPhone Passport. So if you look at it, it's apparently roughly the size of a US passport, like almost the exact same dimensions.
I love that.
So if you want to pick up a passport and feel it, that's roughly what the phone will be. And if you hold one, I have one next to me that I've been trying to figure it out. It's really comfortable.
The
So
marketing on that is so interesting too. It's like your passport to the world, that type of thing. Love that.
And then it's same size, same feel. You're starting to finally get and they like playful things. So I think that'd be something they would do.
That would be a fun one. That's one I haven't heard before, but I like the prediction, and we have a prediction, you and I, about Amazon Alexa Plus. Do you remember this one?
Oh God.
We
Vaguely.
bet at the Amazon event that within the next year of that event, where they came out with Alexa Plus free for Amazon Prime subscribers at no additional cost, I said, this is just going to raise the price of Amazon Prime in the next year. And Max said no. And I've said yes. So far, it has not raised the price of Amazon Prime. So we're coming up to a year, I guess, this summer.
It's about a month from now. No, that was February, right? Was it February?
No, I think they had 2 teases of Amazon Plus. I will go back to my photos and see what day that was, because I can't lose
now.
this.
Yeah, it was February or March. I remember that event where they announced it for the first time. I didn't realize you two had like a side bet going for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was February.
I may be out $100 or whatever we bet, but we'll just peg it at $100.
February 26th.
Listen, guys, this
1 month.
podcast is making me lose all sorts of money every time. I don't know how you feel about this, Max, but every time someone comments and leaves a comment, these guys say they earn $1. I never agreed to this.
$2 a day, actually.
Bullshit. So,
I think it's fair.
no, but they said there was some sort of agreement in here, and
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
It's on the live
It's
stream. Every
in-
single
I
live
saw
stream.
I saw your gold blazer. You can afford it.
Yeah, he's loaded.
Yes, the gold blazer from Amazon.com, little boutique store, the Jeff Bezos collection.
Okay.
No, exactly. He 100% bought 3 pink suits for us all to wear to one singular party the other day. So I think Matt just has like some money to burn. So I think he can afford these comments.
All from Amazon.com, all very returnable if they don't fit.
Very true.
Okay.
Very true.
But no.
We did have 2 comments so far.
Okay, go for
it. One was about this Asian shadow runner. He said the only Apple hardware I have is iPhone. And then another one came in just now, and it was a very long comment. It says AI focus is on the edge. It makes sense to grow the power on the phone first before doing a cloud.
Yeah, Gemini
It's all
AI
about the
isn't
security,
bad.
local.
Yeah, and will improve Apple Intelligence. That makes a ton of sense.
I don't know entirely if they'll do it. A lot of the main bottleneck for on-device AI is going to be memory, and with memory becoming so expensive,
Yeah.
you can do more on the cloud. memory put into a cloud data center brings you further than memory on the device because you're sharing that capacity between everything. You can batch requests into one and process, let's say, 100 of them at one time versus one per device. It makes more sense to allocate memory if you're limited to cloud data centers where you can just burn through many thousands of users simultaneously versus on device. On device has a time and a place, obviously. I mean, if you want it to be, I wouldn't necessarily say low latency, but for quick, easy, summarization and whatnot, it makes sense.
No, that's super interesting. What's your hot take on the Microsoft earnings? Their stock fell by more than 11% yesterday, wiping out $440 billion with a B off its market value. Obviously, they're going to be all right, but their partnership with
A lot of money.
OpenAI, right, I think was inflating that stock price, and investors are reportedly angry with Microsoft's partnership because their spend now, profit later approach is being questioned. That is kind of, I could see that coming. And apparently investors thought the same thing as of yesterday and kind of pulled out. What's your thoughts there on how Microsoft is doing and their approach with OpenAI? Because it seems like OpenAI is like the second string these days in terms of, it's like, I'll say the hype meter.
I think OpenAI, if you're trying to put things into production, is probably the only viable alternative or like option. If you're trying to put agents into production or use in an enterprise setting a chat app, um, I think OpenAI and ChatGPT are realistically the only ones you're going to want to use today. Google's Gemini 3 Flash is good for cheap, quick agents. Anthropic's Claude can be good, but in terms of getting quality following instructions, your only option is OpenAI. And when you look at Microsoft spending money on it, I think they realize, yes, they're burning cash today, but if you look at the growth, it should be okay. OpenAI has been saying roughly 1 gigawatt of power gets them 10 billion in revenue. 1 gigawatt to build can cost, I don't know, it's like 42 billion. That takes roughly 5 to 6 years to break even, roughly. And if you're going to continue building out, another gigawatt, 10 gigawatts, 30 gigawatts, you're going to spend $500 billion and it'll take you a decade to break even on it. Now, that's assuming that 1 gigawatt to 10 billion stays consistent and doesn't grow with efficiency. My theory, thesis, whatever you want to call it, has been every 18 months, roughly, you can see somewhere between a 10 to 40% efficiency gain, meaning that number grows year over year. So I was doing the math earlier, and I think roughly on the low end, 1 gigawatt of power can get you between 11 and 30 billion dollars in revenue. If we get to that 30 billion or slowly grow that efficiency up by 20% every 18 months, give or take, that becomes very profitable, break even, and profitable on its own, probably around 2033. That's a long time from now. We're still talking 7 years from now. But there's a timeline where this actually makes sense, and I can see it being profitable, where I think investors, short term, 5 years from now, whatever, it's going to hurt, and it will hurt for a while. But I think there's going to be some clarity at the end of all of this as we start getting into these later projections where everything becomes more clear.
Very interesting. You mentioned Claude. I decided to subscribe to that over the holidays, and it's been very interesting with its ability to vibe code better than what I was experiencing with ChatGPT, and just hack together a to-do list app. And it is very fascinating on what it can build just with a few simple prompts. And I'm thoroughly impressed with that. ChatGPT, I find it wants to please me and lies about certain things. So
this
yeah,
really depends on the model you use, how you use it, and what you're trying to build. In terms of vibe coding, Claude is probably the best to get something done quick. But after you get that foundation done, adding on top of it, things start to break down really quickly. With OpenAI, they have a model called Codex, 5.2 Codex, which is different from the one you normally chat with. And that takes a really long time, but is exceptional. It will do exactly what you want. It might work for 2 hours to do it, but it will do exactly what you want. Claude, you have to try 5 attempts to get it to finally do it, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, maybe it causes another issue. So there's kind of a handoff between it. And when you're talking about agents in the workspace, if you send out Claude and it gets like on a bunch of side topics and just kind of loses coherence of what it was trying to do, that's not good. So even though OpenAI might take a long time to do it, and you'll probably want to use that. Now, Anthropics, if you're doing something more creative, that makes sense. You want it to go do a bunch of random things you didn't think of. If you want just a meticulous, give it the prompt, have it be done, OpenAI's is where you go. So there's a give and a take for both of them, and a time and a place for both.
Makes sense. Last question I have for you, and guys can pipe in if you have anything else. But Tim Cook, he's been the leader since Steve Jobs is passing. He's not going anywhere just yet. But when do you think his time as CEO is sunset and he spins off to a chairman role or something like that? Do you think it's this year? Do you think he comes out with waits until they have something like the little spectacles that Meta has? Do you think he ushers in one more product category before he goes, or do you think he's out before then?
I think I was talking to a few people about this. I think Apple likes to do things in a very meticulous way. And if we're trying to usher in the new era of Apple, John Ternus is like the next CEO and he's the hardware guy, now taking over design. I think we see this somewhere around the 20th anniversary iPhone, where I think that's either going to be John Ternus's first, where they present the newest, the redesign, the limited edition. Apparently, there's going to be iPhone Ultra, something above the iPhone, I think it would be 19 at that point, to be their, hey, this is the 20th anniversary, similar to the iPhone 10. And I think when we see that, it's either going to be Tim Cook's last or John Ternus's first. And that then narrows down the timeline to when we expect to see it. Maybe early next year if they're going to announce it for John Ternus doing it, or somewhere a little bit after that. But it's somewhere, I think, around this 20th anniversary iPhone, where end of 27 we get some more clarity on it.
Yeah, that would be September 2027 if it keeps on that same release schedule for this iPhone 20. I think that would be a great way to usher in new leadership, even though Tim Cook would probably want to go out with a brand new device that it's refreshed. It would mark a new era, so that would be.
I could see them
great.
maybe announcing May and then have him step down end of the year and do something during it where Tim Cook announces the 19s and then hands it off to Ternus for the 20s, and Ternus closes out the keynote rather than Tim.
I feel like we're right in the keynote right there. That is a beautiful moment, little passing of the torch. So,
Could be interesting.
Max, thank you for being our first remote guest. And one day soon, when you drive down here in your Tesla to New York City, please join us in person. We have enough space in our giant office to host you anytime you want. We may even be sleeping here because it's so much space.
But we're definitely not sleeping here because it's against the law.
It's against the law.
We would never do
that would
Never
not
do
be a
something
thing
against
that
the
we're
law.
going to do. Authorities.
Maybe an all-nighter and a little nap. I mean, that's not sleeping.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I'm just closing my eyes. Just resting.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, but no, join us in Manhattan when next time you're here. Always love talking to you. Very insightful. I not only follow Max at @Weinbach on Twitter, on X, I also turn on notifications because that's how insightful Max is. So
That's a lie.
No, it's true.
I post too much.
I know you do. So my notifications go off like crazy for you and Apple Home whenever someone from my family steps in front of the camera. So those are my probably.
That's just your lock screen. It's just Weinbach quotes.
It's Weinbach quotes and Google Home giving me analysis of, your dad has played with the dog today, that type of thing. So, but no, always insightful. Love talking to you, and I knew you'd be a great first remote guest. So come in anytime.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate it,
Max
Max.
Weinbach,
All right.
analyst at Creative Strategies, first guest in the New York studio. There we go. Now, round of applause. You guys did really good. That wasn't just a sound effect. Don't worry.
No, 100%.
That was
I'm
us.
still
That was
clapping.
right.